welcome to my channel. I'm Chiara, and in today's video I thought I could talk about the reasons of why I have Botox in my arm and my leg. I thought I could tell you a little bit about why I have it and how long I've been having it, because was it maybe 2 months ago I did a day in the life of when I have Botox injections video, and I'll link it up here if you haven't seen it. But I got this comment on it, and I'll put it here, and it inspired me to make this video. If you guys had questions about how does it hurt, how long does it last, how long have I been having it. So yeah, I thought if you were undecided on Botox, or if you weren't sure why I had it, I could tell you today. So first off, if you don't know, when I was 2 and 10 months, I suffered a stroke resulting in right side hemiplegia, and I will link a full video about my disability here and down below if you want to go watch it. And if you like these kind of videos and you want to learn more about my disability and learn more about how I do one-handed tasks, and you might want to see more of me, please consider subscribing. The subscribe button will be below. I thought today I could tell you a little bit about why I have Botox. So first thing I'm going to say is I'm not a doctor, so always listen to your doctor and take your doctor's advice. I'm just sharing my experience with Botox on the internet. That's the first thing I wanted to say. I think when you start with the reasons why I chose to have Botox, so because some people hate it and some people find it really beneficial. I think it very much depends on how your hemiplegia arm is and how your muscle tone is in your arm. The reason why let's go back. I've actually been having Botox since I was about 11 years old. So I used to have it done under pediatrics when I was younger, because that's what I was. I was in pediatrics. So I used to have it done under pediatrics when I was younger, but obviously as I got older, I now have it in adult services. So I've been having it since I was 11 years old, and originally, when I used to have it in pediatrics, they would only put it in my arm. And the reason why I started having it was because we had tried everything. So I was about 11, 12 years old, and we had tried many orthotics. We had tried many different oral medications that were gross. And it got to a point where I was on the highest dose a child could have for oral medication, and nothing was working. It wasn't working. The arm wasn't getting any better. The arm was like this, but it was maybe like this or like this, something, and it was very painful. I was probably in agonizing pain around my arm. I would wake up in the night with really bad pain, and I got referred to other doctors, and they were like, no. And then I think they were like, oh, I don't know. And then I got referred to another doctor. I was being referred a lot. We tried loads of different orthotics to see if that would help, but I would guess an orthotic, and then my arm would just fight, or it wouldn't do anything because the muscles in my arm are so strong. So remember, this is when I was 11. So remember, it was, my maths isn't very good, but it was maybe 2006, 2007, so we didn't have the technology we have now, and we didn't have the developments they've made throughout the years. That's also the other thing I do want to say. So I don't know how it was suggested. I don't know if one of my doctors suggested it, and they were like, let's try it. So my parents, because at the time they were making my medical decisions, because I was 11, 12, 13 years old, I can't really remember, it was around that age, but I couldn't tell you what age it was. They said, I think one of the doctors said, let's try it, let's see if it works. And I was a bit oh, I don't know, because I had everything not work. So I was it's not going to work. My parents were ultimately it is your decision because it's your body, but nothing else has worked, so let's try this. So they tried it. I'm trying to think, the first time I had it, I didn't really want it done, because the way they do it, the reason why I was at first so adamant not to have it is because in pediatrics they do it under general anaesthetic. And I had never had anaesthetic before. My parents were like, let's try it, let's see. And my parents were like, if you really don't want it done, you don't have to, but then it will be your arm would just be like this. Ultimately, if I hadn't had it done at 11, my arm would probably still be up here. I don't know that for sure, but I feel like it would. So we decided to have it. And I think the first round they targeted mainly the shoulder here, because they were trying to bring the arm down from this position, and they were trying to bring it down, and I think that was very successful. So they did that, And then, yeah, I think that was very successful, so they did that. And then they continued it right up until I left pediatrics, until I was about 18, 19, I left pediatrics, but they would do it every 6 months. I think it was every 6 months or every 8 months. They did Botox from the age of 11, from maybe the age of like, I don't know if I was 11, 12, 13, something like that, until I was 19, and then I moved to adults and they continued doing the Botox until now, so I still have Botox. So that's how old I was when I started having Botox. I was 11 years old, and they used to do it under general anaesthetic, which now, because I've had it awake, I have it now awake, I know why they did it under general anaesthetic, because it is a very invasive way of doing it. Like, they basically have to, like, with me, they have to pin me down, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to hit the right muscle. So doing that to maybe like a 13-year-old may not be the best idea. So that's when I started having it. They originally would only do it in my arm. So the first surgeon I had until I was about, I want to say 17, only did it in my arm, and he really basically brought my arm down. It went from this position to this position to then this position, and then by the time I was like 15, 16, it was straight down, and they were just trying to like almost keep it in this position. Actually, I just remembered, as I got older for the Botox, it became less like every 6 months, and then it went to like every 8 months, and then sometimes it went to a year. It was more like when I felt like the Botox was starting wearing off, this was in pediatrics, then my mum would call my surgeon's secretary and be like, Chiara needs Botox, can we get her an appointment? And then they would get me an appointment like that. That's how they did it. So I was just checking. I suddenly had a thought my camera wasn't recording and I just spoke for 8 minutes to no one. The first surgeon I had, he only did it in my arm. Then I had another surgeon for a little bit because mine sadly retired. I was like 16, 17, he sadly retired. And he was like, yes, we can put it in the leg. So he did it in the leg, and the leg, it worked. My first surgeon didn't really want to do it because he was like, you can walk, let's not put it in the leg. He was a bit unsure, but the second one I had put it in my leg, and then when I went into adult services, they do the leg and the arm. So I've been having it since I was 11, and I used to have it under general anaesthetic, but now in adult services, they don't do it under general anaesthetic, they just kind of like hold my arm down and use an ultrasound machine, and then use a needle and do it that way. And sometimes they can use like numbing cream, like numbing spray, like in some areas. I personally don't use it. I'm just like, it's fine, you can just do it. But sometimes they will, if you want numbing cream, they will use it. Okay, so what was the next bit of that question? I just wanted to see it, because I've forgotten. Okay, so how much do the injections hurt? So I would say, I think it really depends on your pain tolerance, and your pain tolerance on the side that you would have your Botox in, because my pain tolerance is different on each side. So like, if I hit my hand, it doesn't really hurt, but if I was to hit this hand, my left hand, it would hurt more. So I think, honestly, it depends on your pain tolerance, and it also really depends on which muscles they want to target, because where they're doing the Botox. Different muscles, there's different layers of fat. So I have one, and there's one they do that's like behind my shin bone, that's like quite deep in your leg, and it's behind my shin bone here, and that's really painful because obviously they're going through a bone that is also like sensitive. But the shin, if you've ever hit your shin, you know it's painful. So that's really painful. But the ones in my arm aren't that painful because I think obviously there's like a lot more. I'm not a doctor, there's a lot more like fat, and they're not going like through the bone. Does that make sense? I think, like I said, it depends on your pain tolerance, but it also depends on where they're going to put the Botox, as in what muscles they're going to target, depending on how painful it is. And also it depends on what position they want you in, because sometimes with me they're like, can you bend your elbow? And then we'll do it like this, and I'm like, yes, but I can't. Sometimes we have to do it like this. I can't sit like this for long. This is really painful for me to sit like this. because my elbow doesn't bend, but that's a separate video. I think I've done a video on that. But this is actually very uncomfortable. So sometimes they get me in a bit of a strange position to do the Botox, but that's because they want to target a certain muscle, and sometimes they need to see when I have it done. I don't know how they would do it where you do it, but they use an ultrasound machine for me. So sometimes they need to see the muscle move to see which position they're putting the Botox in. So that's what I would say for pain tolerance and how long I've been having it. Also, that's what I would say for how much it hurts. I mean, it's not like having a flu jab, like, at all. The needles are very, very long, and it's a lot of Botox. It's not like that. When I have it done, mine takes probably, the whole appointment takes probably about like 2 hours. So, because sometimes I have a chat and be like, how was the last injections? Is it beneficial? Does it work? What muscles are we going to do? Are we going to do the same ones? We decide, they do it, and then they make the Botox up. So let's go back to the other question. How long have you been having it? Does the Botox... Hold on, let me see.
How long do the Botox results last for you?
How long
have you been having Botox?
Okay, how long does the Botox results last? Okay, I think for me, it depends on whether or not they hit the muscle right. If they hit the muscle spot on, and they hit the right muscle they want to get, it might work, not like longer, it might work, I think if they get it right, it's 6 months, maybe 7, 8 months. If they don't get it absolutely right, I think maybe like 5, it's still 5, 6 months, but it's not, my hand might start turning in like this. I'm meant to have Botox every 6 months. Because the reason why I'm meant to have it every 6 months, for me, is because if my hand goes like this, then basically all the Botox they've done, it's basically like they're going back to square one and they're starting again, and then they have to like basically redo it, and it's not very beneficial for me, because then by the time they've gotten the hand back in the position we wanted it, basically it will be so tight that it won't be beneficial, and they want to keep my arm like in this position and not make it go all the way back. That was my fingers all the way back to like this position, because it just isn't beneficial. So I would say every 6 months I have it, and that's how long it lasts for me. But like when I was younger, and I started having it a lot when I was younger, there was a time I remember I went in, this was towards, I must have been 15, 16, and I had been having it for a long time, and the time did get longer. It went from like 6 months to then 8 months to even like a year. At one point I think I had like once a year, and there was one time where I went in and we were in the pediatric ward, and the doctor, my parents were there, and we were sat on a bed. They were like, this is your bed, like sit here, the doctor will be around to see you. The nurse is about to put like numbing cream on my hand, because I had an experience the first time I had it where it didn't work and it didn't numb, and they put the cannula in, and it was the most agony. I can still feel it to this day. Still haunts me. So when I got there, the minute I would say, can I have numbing cream? So this nurse was about to come in to put the numbing cream on, and my doctor was there, and he was like, I don't think we need to do it. Like, we're not doing the Botox, you can go home. Maybe give it 6 more months, because my arm was so good. He was like, I'm not going to inject it because it's not going to be beneficial. So he didn't do it, and the nurse was really confused, because she was like, but you're here in the surgery section of the hospital. Yeah, basically left. In regards to the Botox, it really depends on your body and how your body reacts, and so many things, I think, on how long it will last, and whether or not they target the right muscle, whether or not they get it in the exact right spot. That's what I would say. So yeah, I think those are the reasons as to why I started having Botox, and I have actually found it very beneficial for me. I know some people hate it and don't like it and don't find it beneficial, but it was literally the only thing that we found that worked, because my muscles in my arm are too tight, so I'm very dystonic, they call it, and sometimes you can, with me you could inject one muscle and then the other muscle will overreact. Botox has really been the only thing that's really worked for me long term, which is why I have it, which is why I don't take any medication, because I don't need any, and I don't really wear orthotics because they haven't benefited me. My leg really fights it, like will fight any orthotic, and my arm will do the same. It will work for a short period and then it will just fight it, and that's why I've really only ever had Botox, and that's why I talk a lot about Botox. I have started, was it last November? It was last December I started FES, which is functional electrical stimulation. I've done a few videos on it, and that is helping as well, but previously it has just been the Botox, so like that has helped. Still have Botox and I'll have it again in 6 to 8 months, and I'll continue having it until, some people say it might stop working, but at the moment it seems to be working well for me and it still works. I still see and feel the benefits. The ultimate reason why I have it, and I never actually said that, is because it relaxes the muscles in my arm. That's why I have it. It helps relax the muscles in my arm, and it's the only thing that works, and I'll keep having it until it doesn't really work. But the benefit at the moment, it's still very beneficial. When it doesn't work, that will be a bridge we'll have to cross, because I don't really know what they're doing when it doesn't work, but it's still continuing to work. And some people say it won't work forever. I was younger, there was like, well, we'll see how long it works. It may only work for like 2 years and then we'll have to find something else. But I'm lucky enough that it has continued to work. So yeah, so I'll keep having it until it's not beneficial for me, but at the moment it is. And yeah, it still works, and the reason why I have it is ultimately it helps relax the muscles in my arm and makes my arm feel a lot more looser and a lot less tight. Hope you did enjoy. If you did enjoy, please like and comment, and if you want to learn more about my disability and learn more about how I do one-handed tasks and you might want to see more of me, please consider subscribing. The subscribe button will be below. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!